my story just begun. There you want to find me, 'cause that's what my Father does. There you want to find me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Oh, here at the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Arrival's not the end game, the journey's where you are. Never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. Failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Oh, lay your burdens down. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Prodigals come home, helpless find home. Love is on the moon when the Father's in the room. Prison doors fling wide, the dead come to life. Love is on the moon when the Father's in the room. Miracles take place, a cynical find faith. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Jericho walls are quaking, strongholds now shaking. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Oh, lay your burdens down. Shame at that door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at that door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore.
Let's actually keep on standing up. We're going to do a couple worship songs together.
same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. And the waiting, the same God is never late. He's working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high, and the low is fairly. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, my days. Oh, yes, I will. I kind of want one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. He won't fail me now. And the waiting, the same God who's never late. He's working all things out. He's working all things out. And yes, I will lift you high, and the low is fairly. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, all my days. Oh, yes, I will. I choose to praise and glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, and glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against. Oh, yes, I will lift you high, and the low is fairly. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, all my days. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, all my days. Yes, I will. Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you grace is more, where grace is found, is where you are, and where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. So teach my song to rise to you when temptation comes my way, and when I cannot stand, I fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you leading us that way. First of all, I want to say thank you for the invitation. This is my 7th year here in this community and my first time speaking, and I appreciate the invitation. I think back about when I was your age. It was a while ago. I am 61. I'm celebrating my 43rd reunion from high school. And I think back about 1978 and see how different the world was in 1978 compared to what it is now, and I think it's not that different. We were on the verge of ending the Vietnam War. There was lots of turmoil in our country. There was a lot of struggles with political systems. People were upset with a variety of things. There was school shootings, famous one in Kent State. There was a complete cultural revolution thanks to the women and the complete change that they were making in culture. We were on the verge of another great climate crisis. When I was your age, we were minutes away from the next great ice age. And in 43 years, we went from freezing to death to being too hot. It's really not that different. It's very similar to the world that you're in. But I will admit that the world that you live in is changing a lot faster than the world that I grew up in. Things are happening at a much faster pace than I had ever imagined. So when I think about that, I think about what would I want to know if I was a high school graduate? What would I want to know before I took the next step? Because the next step is significant. This is going to cause me problems. The next step is a big deal. And don't let anybody ever tell you that what happens next isn't significant. Because what's going to take place next in your life is going to ultimately probably set the course for what you will do for years to come. So what do I want you to know? Well, I want to tell you about a movie that I watched once, probably 20 times now. Her name was Dorothy. She had a dream. And in the dream, she was transported to a whole nother place. And there on the dream, she met 3 people that became significant people in her life: a scarecrow, a tin man, and a lion. And she had one purpose in life. The purpose was, how can I get back to Kansas? How do I get home? How do I get back to where I want to be? And so she had a simple rule: follow the yellow brick road. It was easy. It's not complicated. There was a road, it was yellow. All she had to do was walk on the yellow brick road, and she would be returned to Kansas happily ever after with her family. Now, most of you have probably seen The Wizard of Oz, and you know that the journey was filled with temptation, trial, crazy-looking flying monkey things, and all kinds of dangers existed. But the danger only existed when she got off of the yellow brick road. If she would have simply just stayed on the yellow brick road, then things would have been fine. Instead, she gets off the yellow brick road. She encounters danger. She even sees things that are scary, and yet she still gets off of the yellow brick road. And then she sees things that are beautiful. She gets to a place where there's these lovely flowers, and she just thinks, I just need to rest. And she gets off the yellow brick road, and she finds that the flowers, even though they are attractive and beautiful, they are also dangerous. And we are going to find in life all kinds of things that appear to be good, but are not. So I want to tell you something that I wish someone would have told me when I was 18. There are 3 things that you need to know when you take this next step. And there are 3 things that people are going to ask you for the rest of your life, and you're going to have to be able to answer, do I know the answers to these questions that are being asked? And the first question that people are going to ask you is, did God really say? Because that happened at the very beginning. Adam and Eve are created, they're put in the garden, and eventually the serpent comes to them, and the serpent says to Eve, did God really say? And what the serpent was simply saying was, did God really say something, and did God really mean what God said when God said it? You're going to have to be able to answer that question, because that question is going to be asked of you. It's going to be asked of you from college professors, from employers, from friends. Maybe some spouses even one day will ask you, did God really say? And you're going to have to be able to answer that question. And the question is, how do I answer that reality? So I can either accept it, I can agree with it, I can fight it, or I can flight from it. So 1 Peter tells us that we are to be prepared to give an account. In verses 15 of chapter 3, it says, but sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, always being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, but do so with gentleness and respect. When someone asks you the question, did God really say, you're going to have to be able to answer, is it truthful that what God spoke was real, was truthful? You're going to have to be able to answer the question, did God really say this? Which is a question of truth. What is truth? And who gets to decide what truth is? You? Me? Your mom? Your employer? Your professor? Your friends? Because they're all going to have a version of truth. Everybody in this room has an idea of what is true. The question is whether or not they think it's true. The question of whether or not is it true? And you're going to have to decide what is true. You're going to have to be able to answer the question, did God really say? And you're going to have to give an account. You're going to have to be able to defend your position. Most of you have probably been trained up. In Proverbs 22, it says, train up a child in the way you go, and when he is old, he will not abandon it. So you're going to have to be able to rely on the things that you've been taught by your mom, by your dad, by a pastor, by a teacher. Because at some point in time, truth is going to be called into question. What you think is truthful is going to be called into question. And you're going to have to be able to remember and understand that what was taught to you was truth. And you're going to have to be able to remember it and use it to defend your position. And what does truth come from? We live in a world where truth is on a skateboard. It moves wherever anybody wants to take it. Whatever you think is, whatever anybody else thinks is. We even have people say, what is your truth? And you get to live by your standard of truth. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, you don't get to decide what truth is. And let me just give you an idea of what that means. You could decide that truth is, I'm going to get up and go to work at 10:30 in the morning, even though my boss says work starts at 8. Guess whose truth is going to win? Not yours. So even though you may think you know what truth is, the reality is truth is not individual. Truth is permanent. God really said. And when God really said, God really meant what God said. And that's the second thing that you're going to have to deal with. Not just did God say it, but did God really mean it when he said it? Did God really mean it when he said that he loves you? Did God really mean it when he said, this is the way that you should walk in it? Did God really say, as he said in Philippians, think on these things, whatever is true, whatever is right, what is of good report, whatever is good, are you thinking on those things? Because that's where you have to dwell. Did God really mean it when he said that? Or was he just spending time speaking because he was free? Did God really mean it when he said that we are to walk by faith? In 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith, not by sight. This past weekend, I had a kind of a reunion of sorts. I traveled to Birmingham, Alabama, where I spent Friday night, all day Saturday, Sunday morning with a bunch of college guys that I played baseball with. We were down there to celebrate my coach's birthday. He was inducted into the Alabama Hall of Fame. We all got together. It was a great weekend. Tons of time, tons of fun. Told stories, remember all the things that we did in college, all the victories, all the fun that we had. But it was afterwards, when I got in my car and drove home, that I remembered this. What made us such a great group of guys wasn't the baseball games. What brought us together wasn't the fun that we had winning baseball games. The fun that we had, what brought us together and kept us together all these years, is the reality that we had one common denominator. Jesus. That was it. I played baseball my first day in my college experience. I moved into my dorm. It was in Virginia. So northern Michigan boy moves to Virginia. Across the hall from me is a guy. Big guy. Knew he was from the South, 5 seconds after he speaks. He says, come over to my room. So we go over to his room, and above the door of his room was a flag, Confederate flag, and a banner. And the banner read, save your Confederate money, the South's going to rise again. It was 1978. The Civil War had long been over. I was being thrust into a culture I had no idea about. Guys from North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, people from all over the globe came to college. And what made us friends? What kept us together? Belief in God, belief in Jesus Christ, belief that he was the one that was the common thread through all of us. Will you recognize the significance of belief in God and walking according to his leadership? Faith. God is the one that must be followed if we seek to live according to faith. Did God really mean to walk by faith? Did God really mean that we shouldn't lean on our own understanding, as he says in Proverbs 3? Is it really our objective to walk according to his understanding, his truth, his position? So not only are we to, did God really say? Not only do we have to answer, did God really mean? But we also have to answer the question, did God really promise? Is this what God really meant when God said this? In Hebrews chapter 13, I will never leave you, nor will I forsake you. It's a powerful reality that no matter where you are, no matter where you go, no matter what happens in your experience, no matter who you encounter, no matter the struggles, no matter the pain, no matter the suffering, no matter the joy, no matter the great experience you may have, God is always present. I did a funeral yesterday of a woman I've never met. Had no idea who she was. But you know what I understood? God knew her as much as he knows me. God knew her as much as he knows King David. God knew her as much as he knew Abraham and Moses and Daniel. And God knows you. Every dream, thought, hope, aspiration that exists in your life, God knows. And he will always be present. Did God really mean that? Yes. You will never walk outside of the presence of God in your entire life. Now, that can make you fearful, or that can bring you great joy, great comfort. Not only did God say that he would never leave, but he also said that he would reward those who diligently seek him. In Jeremiah 29, it says, and you will seek me and find me when you search for me with your whole heart. You will never walk outside the presence of God, nor will you ever walk so far from God that he cannot find you and he cannot rescue you. There is great comfort in knowing that the presence of God is always there. You should count on it, rely on it, trust it, because you will never be apart from the presence and power and person of God. And he will give us hope. So, here's the question that all of us have to ask and answer. Did God really say it? Did God really mean it? And did God really promise it? Is he going to come through for us? Well, what happened to Dorothy on the road? She encounters all kinds of struggles. And eventually she gets all the way to the castle. And she thinks that she's arrived at the castle. And now she's found her way, and it's just, now this is going to happen. I'm going to be able to return home, and all is well. She gets there only to find out what? That the wizard really wasn't a wizard. It was just a guy behind a curtain. And he gives her instructions. If you go to the wicked witch and you get her broomstick, and you can come back and all will be well and you can get back home. And so she goes on this dangerous mission, only to discover that when she accomplishes the mission really wasn't the mission at all. That didn't solve her problem. But what happened at the end of the movie? Fairy godmother comes, click your heels 3 times. You had the power to go home the whole time. The whole time she was on the journey. If she would have just clicked her heels 3 times and said, I want to go home, she'd have gone home. Now, it would have made a really short movie, but it was already there. The power for her to accomplish what she wanted to accomplish already existed. It was in her shoes. It was already available to her to do what she wanted to do. And you're going to have people coming to you all the time, giving you advice. All the time, people are going to come and tell you all kinds of things. And remember, the power to accomplish what you want to accomplish already exists because God is already present. You don't need to go find something else. There is nothing better. There is nothing else. But you have to be able to ask and answer. Did God really say it? Did God really mean it? Did God really promise it? And no one can answer those questions for you but you. You're the only one. Your parents can help you. Teachers can help you. People can pray for you. People can take you by the hand. They can pull you, drag you, and lead you the best they can. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you decide, and only you. So how will you choose to live your life? In fear, or in the knowledge that a holy, loving God is ever present? That's the beauty of God, is He is ever present. He is always present with you. That can bring you fear, or that can bring you comfort. What happened to Dorothy? Eventually she gets home. She missed a lot along the way. God has such glorious ideas for humans. Not just you, for all of you. Even for your grandparents, even for old pastors. God still has glorious ideas for all of you. Will you live in the moment of recognition that God is always present in my life? Always. Let me pray for you. Father, I thank you for the reality of the person of God, His presence, always with us. And I pray for these graduates that you will guide them, lead them, and remind them you are with them. That they do not venture out to what's next, outside of the presence of God, but with the presence of God. And you will walk with them and love them, encourage them. And we just pray, Father, your blessing upon them, that wherever they travel next, they will travel in the knowledge that you are with them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Everybody stand up in prayer. All right. Dear Lord, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to meet here today and worship you. Thank you for all the amazing community and adults and parents who have had their hand on our class, and thank you so much for that. Please keep your hand on the class as they enter their next chapter in their life, and thank you for all the blessings. Amen.
try my best, but this don't get it right. Well, I'll talk a talk that I don't walk and miss some moments right before my eyes. Somebody with a hand that I could have held, somebody with a hand that I could have held, when I just can't see past myself. Lord, help me be a little more like mercy, a little more like grace, a little more like kindness, goodness, love and faith, a little more like patience, a little more like peace, a little more like Jesus, or a little less like me. Yeah, there's no denying I have changed, 'cause I've been saved from who I used to be. Even at my best, I must confess, I still need help to see the way you see. Yeah, somebody with a hand that I could have helped, somebody with a hand that I could have held, when I just can't see past myself. Lord, help me be a little more like mercy, a little more like grace, a little more like kindness, goodness, love and faith, a little more like patience, a little more like peace, a little more like Jesus, a little less like me. Oh, to feed the bag on the street, love to be your hands and feet, really give what I receive. Lord, help me be. I want to put you first above all else, love my neighbor as myself, in the moments no one sees. Lord, help me be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A little more like mercy, a little more like grace, a little more like kindness, goodness, love and faith, a little more like patience, a little more like peace, a little more like Jesus, so a little less like me, a little more like living everything I preach, a little more like Jesus, a little less like me, a little less like me.
On behalf of the class of 2021, thank you for attending Baccalaureate this year. All the seniors have gone outside. They're along the building by the river where we're allowed to go without masks. And we look forward to seeing everybody on Friday night, 7 p.m. Thank you for coming again.
Just ask the waves if they are stilled at the mention of his name. They'll say, my God is still the same. Ask the walls